Hey everybody, this is Dead Winter Dead with another Battlefield 4 video for you. Today we're going to talk about Operation Metro, the big elephant in the room. Now there may or may not be other videos like this, but I thought that I wanted to put one out. Operation Metro has been a love-hate relationship for most Battlefield players since Battlefield 3. That was when the map was introduced, and it was actually the map that was presented to us during the Battlefield 3 open beta. Except they presented it in its rush form, which is going to be one of my major points here. Now, whether you love it or hate it, whether you love it or hate it, Metro is the most popular Battlefield map. It was in Battlefield 3. I'm seeing a huge resurgence of it with the release of Second Assault. It's going to be big in Battlefield 4, and all the analytics that DICE and EA collected during the last several years of Battlefield 3, it was determined that OP Metro was the most played map, which in DICE terms meant that it was the fan favorite. It was a fan favorite map. Now, any of us with half a brain realize that it was a fan favorite map because it was easy to play. All you had to do was load up on explosives, grenades, rockets, M320s, whatever, load up on explosives, and go to town. And everybody knew that the Russian side, almost 99% of the time, won because they had an easier jump on the B flag, which is the ticket booth flag. They were able to get to it a lot quicker from their spawn than the US side. Now, if you look at the map itself, it's a very linear map. You have and I'm going to discuss the entire map. You have the park section. It's got the lake on the right hand side, and then it leads into the metro. You've got the wrecked metro kind of rail car system here, which is where we're at now. Then you have the upper escalator area and the locker hallway with the ticket booth leading to the glass doors, and then eventually back outside to the storefronts and the apartment complex. Very linear. You cannot get from one end of the map to the other without going through the entire map. There is no way to go from the park section to the apartment section. There is no way to go from the apartment section to the broken rail car section. You have to go through every aspect of the map. It's very linear. This design to me screams Rush. It just flat out screams Rush. Now, most of us who are Rush players, and again, Rush is I'm not really going to call Rush a controversial mode, but it is one of those modes that you either love it or you hate it. It's not everyone's cup of tea. I personally love Rush. If you've watched my videos, you know I love Rush. And one of my favorite Rush maps, surprise, surprise, is Operation Metro. I'm showing you here exclusively Conquest footage because I want to make my point that Conquest on Operation Metro is a broken game mode. It's extremely broken for several reasons. One, you can tell that when they designed this map, they were thinking from a Battlefield Bad Company 2 map design standpoint, which was create brilliant maps for a game mode. Somewhere along the line, and I'm very positive, I don't have proof of this, but I'm very positive that it happened after all of the BF4 maps were made and in place. But somewhere along the line, somebody said, why don't we, double down on this and make every single mode available in every single map? Now, to the player base, that seems like, oh, wow, that's great. Every mode will be available in every map. That way, if I like Rush, I like Conquest, I like TDM, I'll be able to play it on every single map. Yay, yay, yay. Good times for us. Happy birthday. Ring the bell. Fight's over. We win. But not necessarily. For those of you that play a lot of TDM, you know that there are some maps that play really well on TDM. Others, not so much. A perfect example would be BF4 North Shore Canals, or as they like to call it, Nose Hair Canals. Nose Hair Canal was probably the most popular TDM map in BF4. A squad deathmatch map in Battlefield 4 that is just terrible and makes no sense would be, yes, you guessed it, Silk Road. Have you ever seen Squad Deathmatch on Silk Road? It is stupid. It's just this huge open sand bowl. It makes absolutely no sense, and there are parts on the map that are so much better to play squad deathmatch in. So, I mean, I just don't get that. But team deathmatch on Silk Road makes a lot of sense because they actually put it in that little forward operating base, that little compound. That makes a lot of sense. Why would you put squad deathmatch in the middle of this sand punch bowl? Absolutely no sense at all. The same design conflicts are in play with Operation Metro. Operation Metro Conquest is lazy. It is flat out lazy. Somebody went into the map editor, planted 3 flags, left out the most interesting part of the map to me, which is the park. I love the park. And it's just this linear clusterfuck. The other reason why Operation Metro does not work for Conquest is because the player count. 64 players with, look at that, the M320 LVG. 64 players with explosives, spamming it up and down escalators, around corners. You know, I mean, we've got a grenade launcher that now bounces off walls. I mean, how ridiculous is that? 64 players in this map is just ridiculous, and it makes for that meat grinder that it's just stupid. There's no tactical gameplay. It's not a thinking man's game. It just becomes a war of attrition. You spawn, you die, you get a couple kills. You spawn, you die, you get a couple kills, and so on and so forth. And by the end of the round, you know, you're sitting on 25,000 points. That might sound cool, but it's not really that fun. The ideas for Metro, I think, and I've messed around with this on player counts. The sweet spot seems to be 12v12, so a 24-player match. If you want to play Conquest, look for a 12v12 map. You still get into some of those really tight, crazy situations, but they're breakable. You are able to break them. You put enough pressure on one corner, and it folds. And with the additional routes that DICE has given us, especially in that middle area, it is possible to break a stalemate with a lower player count. It can be done, and I've done it. Excuse me. It is, you know, I mean, it's not easy, but it's a challenge, and it allows for the battle lines to kind of ebb and flow. Now, obviously, yes, if you get a bunch of players who are just beasts and versus a bunch of players who are total scrubs and have no idea what they're doing, then yes, it's gonna be a complete. You're just gonna get snowballed. That's just the way. That's the way it is. But if you get a fairly even match skill-wise, or even if it's still just a little bit lopsided, it is possible to break those stalemates. Absolutely possible. Some of you may agree with me. Some of you may think, no, 64-player Conquest Metro is the most brilliant map ever conceived in any game. I love it. Dead Winter Dead. You can go to hell because that is blasphemy. And okay, that's fine. If you enjoy that, that is absolutely your prerogative. That's the beauty of this game, and the beauty of having such a large community is that there is plenty of room for everybody. So this is just my opinion. Remember that. But personally, I think, and a lot of the players that I play with, you tend to kind of gravitate towards like-minded players. A lot of players I play with tend to agree that the 64-player meat grinder is just not that fun. It's not something that really challenges you. It's almost impossible to break some of those stalemates, and it's not a lot of fun. But if you lower the ticket count, then all of a sudden it becomes a playable game. And it almost becomes a cat and mouse situation where you're not running into players around every corner, but there's enough people that you can actually maneuver around these tunnels or maneuver around these dark areas and get some really decent flanks going. Now, of course, the end-all be-all solution for me is to fix the map. I mean, you could easily put 5 flags in this map, and you could open up the park area a little bit, maybe put a couple flags there, having enemies have the US uncap way back in that park area, like where you start for rush. You could open up develop the city area on the very far end up a little more, maybe put 1 or 2 flags there. Keep the metro flags where they are, but how about this? Maybe add an entire new section of the city. Imagine if you get to the end of the park where the holes actually lead you into the damaged, the destroyed rail car area of the metro, about where the C flag is on your screen. Imagine if you, instead of going into those two holes and down into the underground, if you went up and were able to go in to a cityscape similar to, say, Seine Crossing. I mean, the map design is already there. They could just borrow pieces of Seine Crossing, plop it on top of the metro, and you had the choice to either fight underground or fight through the cityscape to the Russian deployment. Then maybe 64 players might be more warranted. Down in this little war, in this little den, you know, you're crawling around like a rat. It's very close quarters combat. Up top on the streets, you could have some some IFVs up there rolling through the streets, taking down buildings, blowing facades up, engineers trying to keep their vehicles alive, you know, support players trying to blow up tanks with C4, snipers up in the buildings trying to take down bad guys. It could be a brilliant map. But, you know, obviously the map we have is the map we have. I'm just spitballing ideas here, but just imagine that. Imagine being able to go in the city above this area here. You know, this area that you see on the screen. This is what I refer to as like the damaged rail car area, simply because you have all these destroyed rail cars underground in the metro. But imagine if a map similar to Seine Crossing was just above this, and you could actually be able to fight in it. Now, of course, these are all just ideas. It will probably never change. But to recap, you know, how do you fix Metro? How do you fix Metro? My 3 ideas, going from you know, least likely to most likely. Least likely, you know, change the map. Give us a different map. Add some more areas to the map. Make Conquest a little more interesting. Second idea, just go back to making it a rush-only map. This design screams rush. This was a map that was made for rush, made for the rush game mode, and that was it. Conquest was a complete afterthought, and it was a lazy execution. Third idea is, when this map shows up in the rotation, limit it to 24 players, or even less if you want kind of a little squad deathmatch thing going. But limit it to less. Now, all this footage that you're seeing, this is a mishmash. As you can see right here, this is some 8v8 gameplay, and I gotta admit, it was a little bit lacking. It was a little bit too easy, a little bit one-sided. But we were still able to kind of break the stalemate. Earlier in the video, there was some 32v32 gameplay, and all of you know how that is. It's just completely ridiculous. So I think player count has a lot to do with making this map more interesting, simply because there's no way that DICE is going to roll back and make this a rush-only map, and there's no way they're going to go back into the lab and design a whole new map to tack on to this existing one. Anyway, guys, give me your thoughts and your comments down below. Again, this is just my opinion. If you like it, fine. If not, whatever. But my name's Dead Winter Dead. Thanks for watching.